Welcome to Let's Get Political SF. I am your host today, Eva Kane. I am so excited to introduce you to our studio guest. We have Stuart Schuffman, aka Broke-Ass Stuart, local blogger, journalist, and former mayoral candidate. And we have Cynthia Pollock with the SF League of Pissed Off Voters, concerned citizens that have done their homework for you. Welcome, guys.
Thank
you. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank
you
for
having us.
All right. So who has time to read through these sample phone book ballots?
Right.
It's insane.
Okay, there are 24 local and 16 state initiatives. City Hall is up for grabs. How many seats do we have available, and why is this so important for our city, Cynthia?
So right now there are 6 seats up for grabs in districts in the city. There are 11 total. It's really important to have a progressive majority so that the votes that we have for citywide things lean toward social justice and just sort of taking into account equity across the board and throughout the city.
Wonderful. Okay, what do you think about that, Stuart? What do you want to add to that?
Well, I think the difference between a lot of the progressive candidates and the moderate ones is the progressive ones are coming from a grassroots background, right, whereas a lot of our moderate ones are sponsored fiscally by big businesses, corporations,
Absolutely.
people like Ron Conway, who just like firebombing these elections with millions of dollars of dirty money.
So let's touch again with Conway. So you recently posted with your blog an email that he had sent to his tech cohorts. Can you kind of...
So he did this last year too. He's basically using he's very influential in Silicon Valley. He's invested in over 500 companies, right? And some of those being Twitter and Airbnb and these big companies that have thousands of employees. And he's basically said he sent out an email to all the CEOs saying, please push your employees to vote like this. And he sent a link to what seems like an innocuous organization, but it's actually an organization that he funded called SF City. And basically, so he's pushing his, and the crazy thing is like, this shouldn't be legal. It's barely legal. It's just shady. But it's like, these are companies that he's making money off of. And he's like basically saying, you know, hey, I'm helping you make money. I'm giving you money. You should tell your people to vote this way. It's like mafia.
You know, you can't tell people that their job is at stake if you don't vote a certain way. But we know that people trust their employer's opinion. And so when you, say, for example, have their boss tell them, hey, this is really important, then they value that. And it's using a lot of influence in a way that is just really not geared toward the workers. Yeah.
So this is why your voter guides are so important, both of you. Let's go back to supervisors and let's talk about who we want to endorse here.
Absolutely. I can tell you what the League of Pissed Off Voters are saying.
Okay.
So for District 1, we are endorsing Sandra Feuer. In District 3, we're endorsing Aaron Peskin. In 5, it is Dean Preston. And 7 is Norman Yee. 9 is Hillary Ronan. And District 11 is Kimberly Alvarenga.
Thank you.
And I agree with them 100% on that. These are all progressive people with a great background of caring and giving a damn about the community and showing up when it's important. And for example, Dean has been part of Tenants. What's the organization?
Tenants Together.
Tenants Together for decades. You know, and like which is the only national.
It's the only statewide
yes.
renters' rights organization. So if you think about like the rights that we have in San Francisco as for renters, these things are not all over the state of California. And so people get forced out of their homes quite a bit. Tenants Together has really been a strong force in tenants' rights tenants' rights legislation on a state level. The League of Pissed Off Voters, we've gone to Sacramento twice with Dean Preston, part of Tenants Together, to fight for people getting their deposits back, which isn't actually protected, and to fight the Ellis Act.
Okay, let's talk Wiener Kim.
Jane Kim, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wiener's playing so dirty. I actually got a robocall from Wiener last night that was like, my opponent Jane Kim is a liar, blah 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 blah. And you know the crazy thing is that like Jane, the whole beginning of this thing, she's like, hey, why don't we try to do this? Let's not play dirty. Let's do this on the up and up. And Scott Wiener's like, no. And then he's got that dirty Ron Conway money for Independent Expenditure Committee, just saying really messed up things. What Conway's done, both he did this against Campos in 2014, and they're doing it here with Jane, is it's saying a vote for these people is a vote that's pro-domestic violence. And it's just like, who are you? What kind of monster does that? Absolutely. And so those are the trying to watch my language. Those are the guys, those are the people that we're up against. So, and that's who Scott Wiener's in bed with.
And I would just say, like, if you look in your voter guide, that pamphlet, which is 315 pages, you'll see that Scott Wiener is not even listed. And that's because he didn't want to accept spending caps for his campaign. And so he gave up the right to be in this guide because he wanted to have unlimited money.
So that leads us to Prop D. Elect our elected officials. Yes or no? And how will this proposition change things, Cynthia?
So the League of Pissed Off Voters has been really involved with Let's Elect Our Elected Officials since about 2012 when Supervisor Avalos introduced it first. And what it does is it makes the mayor appoint someone when a seat is vacated within 30 days, and then there's a special election after that. And this is so critical because right now, 2 people on the Board of Supervisors are in a race for Senate. And so one of those for sure will be vacant December 1st. And so we want for it to be filled with someone that the district elects instead of someone that the mayor wants, so that the people are represented, in their district.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, the way San Francisco's government is set up, the mayor is extremely powerful. So the mayor is in charge. The mayor chooses all the heads of all the departments, and then on top of that, if somebody goes to Sacramento or decides no longer to be, on the board of supervisors or whatever, the mayor gets to put the mayor's friend or ally in that spot, as opposed to like having the community elect that person. Which is that's the way it should be. We should have the community say who is helping govern them.
If you look at like District 4, for example, they've had so many people be appointed to that seat. They haven't had the district elect someone without the power of incumbency since 2002.
So Prop F, youth voting and local elections. Yes or no?
For sure, yes. Vote 16 is so important. What we have is a system where people start voting when they're 18. So they've left school. They no longer have a stable home environment. They're going off to college and they're maybe even moving out of state. And so if you start the voting habit at 16 or 17, people become better voters. So it's a way of giving them a voice. And we know that when we ask people to vote on whether someone can vote, we know that people say no. That happens with women. It happened with, just throughout history, every time we've enfranchised a group of citizens. So vote 16 is really important to give people a voice.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right, we're going to move on to Prop H, public advocate. Should we appoint a public advocate, yes or no?
Absolutely. As I was saying earlier, the way things are set up, the mayor's very, very strong in the mayor's office. And so what this does is we don't really have enough checks and balances. If so, maybe things wouldn't be necessarily where they are in this current state of San Francisco. So what the public advocate does is come in and kind of acts as a foil for the mayor and the board of supervisors, really, to kind of keep everything up and up. And, for example, like if your mayor is possibly under investigation by the FBI for maybe being involved with gangsters, public advocate will help push that to be investigated more and do it independently.
Love it. Okay, Prop Q, prohibiting tents on public sidewalks. This is a big one. Stuart,
yes.
take this.
Prop Q is really, 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 really screwed up. It's criminalizing homelessness. It's, taking tents away from the people who already have nothing. They don't have a roof over their head, and all they have is a tent. And taking that away it's cruel. It's wrong. I mean, I think you'll agree with me on this.
For sure. So when people are out on the streets, think about when you're, bundling up, walking down the streets, and then if you have nothing and you're just sleeping on the streets, this is a little bit of shelter from the elements. But this isn't really about homelessness or homeless people. This is about giving Supervisor Mark Farrell something to stand on, a wedge issue, so that he can run for mayor, basically. And it's using people who don't have a voice as political fodder, and it's just really, it's in poor taste and cruel.
It's a punk ass move, really.
Okay. Prop S, allocation of hotel tax funds. Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Prop S is going to do is it's so right now there's a tax. The hotel tax fund goes into it kind of gets slushed around, and the board of supervisors can kind of use it for what they want. Then it goes to Moscone Center and advertising in San Francisco. What it'll do, it'll reallocate that money so that so it goes back to where it's supposed to go to, which was the arts. But not only that, makes a separate provision so that a lot of that money also goes to helping homeless families or families that are at risk of homelessness get more stable or off the street. It's fantastic. The thing is, it needs 66%
Right.
approval. So we need everybody to vote yes on S.
Very important for everybody to vote on S. What do you want to add to that?
I just think it's so important that that people are getting the funds that they were initially set for. So it was already set up that way, and it's just sort of gone a little haywire. And so this is a course correction.
Okay. Moving on to Prop T, restricting gifts and campaign contribution from lobbyists.
Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Mayor Lee, since 2013, has had over $100,000 worth of gifts and trips given to him by corporations like Airbnb and Twitter and Ron Conway and whatever else he wants to give. So we wouldn't maybe have some of these, once again, these issues if the mayor wasn't able to take legal bribes from people. So this would really put a halt to a lot of that.
Yeah, I just think that any time that we can have checks and balances on where the money's coming from and how, so that it's not a pay to play government.
Absolutely.
This is Frisco, don't you know? Pay to play.
We have a bonus question.
Ooh,
It's
is there a prize?
Well, we have a little bit more time. So, soda tax. I know, like, I've heard both sides to this. What do you guys think about this?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a tax on poor people, possibly, but also sugar and refined sugar is also incredibly bad and leads to things like diabetes. But the people that it affects are poor people. Like an extra, few cents on whatever isn't going to affect someone who already has money. But if like you're struggling and you're on like EBT and stuff just to get things in your home, I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I don't know what to do with that one. How about you?
So I have like a personal interest in the soda tax. I grew up in a poor area in Arkansas, in rural Arkansas, and we used well water, and our well water was polluted with dioxin, and so we drank Coca-Cola, and that's what happened a lot, and there were a lot of people that were obese, and it just really does give you long-term health effects. Flat taxes in general, yeah, they're regressive. They disproportionately affect poor people. But diabetes is a heck of a lot more regressive, this would, if you're feeling bad about giving money to people that you say that you want to help, then you got to examine that. You've got to examine that. And so I support it.
So, are there any other ballot measures that you guys want to touch on? Something that's important for you?
I don't know.
There's
There's
so many.
I know. Well, we can bring up the Hunters Point Shipyard development. What do you think about that?
That's a giveaway to Lennar Corporation, who has just a history of bad deals and taking advantage of loopholes in government to basically make money off of areas that are just not as well represented in the local government.
Do we know what letter prop that is for the Hunters Point?
I think it's O. We're definitely a no. It's kind of like a favor for a corporation.
All right, we will be moving on now to statewide initiatives. Okay, Prop 57, parole reform.
This is basically going to change the way people are classified, and so this is moving forward things that were already set in place to try to get people moved from the school to prison pipeline out and reintegrated back into just being part of their communities. And so it takes away some of the prosecutor powers and puts it in the hands of the judges, which will really protect younger citizens.
I agree.
Okay, perfect. So Prop 62, death penalty repeal. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. California shouldn't be in the business of killing people. We really shouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you are a hard, straight line biblical person, eye to eye, eye for an eye kind of person, the fact that there is the possibility of somebody being innocent being put to death. I mean, we've seen in the past 20 years since the introduction of DNA, so many people exonerated for things they didn't do. So with that being the possibility of happening even once, we should abolish the death penalty, let alone the fact that it's just medieval anyways.
So I know Prop 66 and 62 go together. You just spoke about 62, but with 66, that is death penalty enforcement.
Right. The League of Pissed Off Voters calls it basically kill everyone faster, which is, a terrible place to be. It also has a poison pill. So if Prop 62 passes, then Prop 66 would kill Prop 62. Right now, California has about maybe 700 people on death row because of the provision in 66 that says you have to enact it within 5 years. It means that we would kill someone every 3 days. And so we don't want to become a killing machine. Even states like Texas only executed maybe 40 people last year. So it would be terrible.
Okay.
And they love executing people.
Right, right.
It's like their thing. It's like, that's what they do well.
We are moving on to Prop 64, which is marijuana legalization, Stuart.
I'm absolutely pro that for a lot of reasons. There are issues with it. I mean, the way it's written right now is that the worry is that people who've been doing this clandestinely for decades could really lose out if it's not done right. People who've been growing in Mendocino and only doing business face to face and worrying about going to jail for the past 40 years. These are the people who we want to be they've done all the hard work to get us here. They shouldn't be left out of the equation once the money starts rolling in and once it's legalized. So right now the way the law is set up is the next 5 years there's no giant grow licenses going to be given. So that way R.J. Reynolds can't come in and make Marlboro Greens or whoever makes Marlboro. Mm-hmm. So that way or that all the VC guys can't just hey, we got a new pot business, So this is to help give us time to get these people organized, so that way they can maybe. And I actually look at this as a really good opportunity for organized labor.
Right.
To come in and kind of organize these people who don't even do emails because they've done all their business face to face for 30 years.
Right. I really like to align with harm reduction policies and organizations like Drug Policy Alliance that are saying this is a really good piece of legislation and we should move it forward.
All right, we have time for a quickie. Prop 60, condom enforcement.
Right. So this is actually tricky because it seems like a harm reduction measure, but it's not. What this would say is that you have to use condoms in adult films, which we know that adult entertainment, they've been using a testing regimen called PASS. And also some people use a medication called PrEP, which keeps people from getting HIV/AIDS. And condoms are really not the preferred harm reduction measure or usage to protect stars and film, porn stars and people that just make videos in their home. I mean, if you're making a webcam video, you would be then at risk of the Prop 60 enforcement. And what it allows is that anyone in the state of California can enforce this measure and you can get their personal information and sue them. So if you are married and doing a webcam video in your home, then you can also be sued for damages for not using a condom.
That is a poorly written law.
It's really poorly written. And it also means that adult entertainment will leave California. They'll probably move to Nevada. And it doesn't protect people. There's not been an HIV transmission case, I think, since 2004. So a long time. They get tested every 2 weeks. And so we are in alignment with adult entertainers and saying that Prop 60 is just a really bad deal.
I have a question for, this is advice to disillusioned voters who say they are not going to vote because they don't approve of either candidate. What is your message to them?
Your local politics affect your life. I mean, granted, if Donald Trump was president, it would really affect everybody's life in a bad way. But I mean, but really, like, real talk, your local politics affect your life so much more than the presidential stuff. And yeah, I'm not really happy with the candidates that we have running for president, but the down ballot people who are running for Congress and people running for local office and the measures, both statewide and locally, are so important to vote for. And like, there's so many good voter guides out there, like the League of Pissed Off Voters.
Absolutely.
We have a voter guide on my site that's almost, I think, aligns 99.9% with you all. There's progressive ideas out there. Doing the research of all this is going to be insane. But go with people you trust and people who you respect, and listen to their opinions on things, and then they'll give you the literature to make a decision for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I look at Broke-Ass Stewart's guide. We were writing the League of Pissed Off Voters guide for over 3 months. We started researching in June. I look at the SF Free Press has a great guide, SFA Guardian. Those are some trusted names. But I recommend ballot parties. They're really great to get together and talk about things with your friends. Split up the research. It's hard to do it on your own. But just echoing what Stuart was saying, I think cities are like laboratories for democracy. You know, it's a way that things get tested out before they go on a bigger scale, and they have so much more impact on your life. So it's so important that these things are really hashed out on a local level.
So please direct viewers on where they can go and where they can take action.
With mine, you can just go to brokeassstewart.com and you can search in the little box for voter guide. It'll pop up.
Good for you.
And the League of Pissed Off Voters, you can find our guide at theleaguesf.org/guide.
Great. I want to thank you both so much. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you so much for the wonderful information, and thanks for watching. And to find out more about our show, go to Let's Get Political SF on Facebook. Go vote.